everybody and welcome back to my channel. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope that you all had a lovely Christmas and New Year. So for today's video I am going to be reviewing 2022 and also sort of talking about 2023. So I did a video like this last year where I reviewed 2021 and then I set some goals for 2022. So this video is going to be essentially the same. I'm going to share some of my highlights and lowlights of 2022 and also see how I got on with those goals that I set last year and also set some new goals for 2023. So I made some notes on my phone. So I'm going to start by reviewing 2022 and I've split it into a few different sort of categories. So the first category I've just called amazing achievements. So this is just a few really big sort of milestones in terms of my ME rehabilitation and also just incredible things that happened last year. So the first one is way back in January 2022 I was actually able to travel to Birmingham to see the Strictly Come Dancing live tour, which was a huge achievement for me in terms of my ME, and it was just incredible. The show was amazing. It was at the Utilita, I don't remember if I'm saying that right, Arena, Birmingham, and the staff there were just absolutely amazing and really accommodating to my disability and wheelchair access and stuff. Yeah, it was an amazing day. I went with my friend Cody. We went to the afternoon show. Yeah, the show was just amazing. All the dancing was incredible. We had a really good view and yeah, it was just a really amazing day and one that I will treasure forever, and I'm really grateful to my body and to my ME for allowing me to do that. And don't get me wrong, I suffered badly afterwards and I will get on to that in a minute, but for the moment I'm just going to talk about all the positives of that and what an amazing experience it was. Also, last year in April, when it was my birthday, I was able to go out for a meal. It was my 21st birthday and it was the first time that I'd been out for a meal for my birthday since my 17th, so quite a few years. So that was really lovely. I went with a couple of my friends. We just went to a restaurant quite local to where I live just a couple of weeks before my birthday, and it was just really nice. And then the other thing is that some of you may remember in last year's video I talked about how I managed to go to the hairdressers twice in 2021, and that was the first time that I'd been to the hairdressers for many years, and I'm very pleased to say that I've been able to go to the hairdressers in 2022 2 more times for getting my hair cut and also getting my hair coloured. So it's a very long and tiring experience and quite painful, but having my hair done and kind of getting a fresh cut and colour brings me so much happiness and so much joy. So yeah, so being able to go and get my hair done is another really amazing achievement. So yeah, so those are sort of my big achievements, big milestones that I reached in 2022. My next category is just ME. As I sort of briefly touched on, the crash that I experienced after going to the Strictly tour was massive. If you don't know what a crash is, in the ME community, that's what we refer to as a post-exertional malaise, is sort of the technical term. But it's essentially where you experience a flare-up in symptoms after some sort of exertion of energy, and generally how big the crash is and how big the flare-up is depends on how big the activity is that you did. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, the crash that I experienced after the live tour was massive. I am still recovering from that almost a year later. There are things that I was able to do this time last year. For example, my walking distance around this time last year was around 10 metres-ish. So I'm just editing this and I realised that I made the same mistake that I did last year in terms of talking about the walking distance. So my walking distance this time last year was about 5 meters with crutches, but I could do that a couple of times a day. Now my walking distance is just less than 5 meters and I can only do that maximum of once a day. Most days it's only kind of about 2 meters. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that because once again, same as I did last year, I overestimated my walking distance. I was coming down the stairs earlier on in the day and I was walking down the stairs and up the stairs. Whereas now I only walk up the stairs, not down the stairs. I actually find walking down the stairs harder. But yeah, so there were things that I could do before I went to the Strictly tour that I'm still building up to doing again almost a year later. So the crash was huge. Obviously I am incredibly grateful that despite that I was able to go out for a meal and go to the hairdressers, but there were months of recovery between each of those activities. Also, I had COVID in July, so that sort of set me back more. And I mean, I still have quite severe ME, despite the fact that I was able to achieve those things that I've talked about. Like I said, there were massive rest periods in between each of those things, and they were all incredible experiences, but also incredibly exhausting and painful experiences. And I would say that, I mean, obviously with ME there are good days and bad days, but I would say over the past year I've again had more bad days than good days, which is difficult and frustrating. Yeah, so that is ME. I just wanted to add in here that with all of these amazing achievements that I made in 2022, while yes they were horrific for my ME, all of them brought me so much joy in their own way, and I think sometimes that's something which you sort of have to do is sort of weighing up whether the joy and happiness and all those positive emotions that you are going to experience sort of make the crash and the payback worth it. And for me, I think that all those things that I did have been worth the crash and the flare-up of symptoms that I experienced as a result. They all just brought me so much joy and so much happiness that really positively impacted on sort of myself mentally and emotionally. But it's just unfortunate and frustrating that my ME and my body physically had to suffer so badly as a result. And then the final category is just other things. So as I already mentioned, last year I turned 21, so that was exciting, and I was able to mark that by going out for a meal, as I've already talked about. And yeah, it was just quite nice. And then for my actual birthday, just kept everything quite relaxed, quite sort of low-key, and just had some family round, so that was really nice. And then the final thing that I want to talk about from 2022 is my charity Christmas concert that I did in December. If you don't already know, you haven't already seen, I posted a highlights video of the concert. It's the previous video on my channel, so if you want to check that out then you can. So yeah, so I was raising money for Action for ME and the ME Association. The concert went really well, and we raised just over £320, which was split equally and donated to those two charities. So I've said this so many times, but just once again a massive thank you to everyone who supported me and who bought tickets and watched the concert, or even just watched the highlights video. Your support just means so much to me, and I wouldn't have been able to raise anywhere near that much money without everyone's support, so thank you. So moving on to the goals that I set last year. So I've watched back my video from last year and just made a couple of notes about each of the goals that I set. So the first goal was to continue working on my ME and the rehabilitation process of that, which I started in hospital in Leeds in 2020. For this I've sort of put yes and no in terms of whether I've achieved that goal, because obviously I've done a few really big things that would have not been possible at all even in 2021. but I did pay heavily for those, as I talked about. As a result of that, I wasn't able to work as much on sort of the day-to-day things, like increasing my walking distance and getting out of the house more often and things like that. So it's sort of a yes and no sort of one, but I am still incredibly aware and incredibly grateful of the progress that I have made. One of my other goals was to be kinder to myself and be kinder to my body. I sort of talked about in last year's video about how I can get very frustrated with my body when it won't do what I want it to do, and having ME can just be a very frustrating condition, and I can get quite frustrated and upset with myself and with my body. So one of my goals was to be kinder to myself, and again I've sort of put yes and no. So I've definitely made progress. I do definitely feel like I am learning to be kinder to my body and accept the limitations that I have, but there's still a long way to go, and I think the process of accepting that you have a chronic illness is a very long one, but I do feel like I'm making progress. Like, even when I was able to achieve those really big things, because there was such a huge crash afterwards, I'm still sort of feeling frustrated with my body, in sort of the knowledge that if I was healthy, or even if I was just less unwell than I am, then I wouldn't suffer so much or at all. Also, this year or last year, a lot of people who are the same age as me, people who I went to school with, have been graduating university and kind of going on with their lives, so there's quite a lot of grief attached to that for me, feeling like I'm frozen in time. That sort of has been very obvious for me this year, and sort of that feeling of missing out. Yeah, so I've sort of been feeling very frustrated with myself and with my body in regards to that. So yeah, it's sort of another mixed one. Another one of my goals was to finish the hair course that I started back in 2020, and I did do that. I completed that in May and I passed it with a higher distinction. Yes, I was very proud of myself for that. Yeah, I mean, my very long-term goal, kind of ME permitting, is to become a fully trained hairdresser and stylist and open my own wheelchair accessible salon, as those are few and far between. And then my final goal was to work on looking after myself in the ways that I can. And again, I talked about sort of when you have ME or chronic illness, there's so much about your own life that is out of your control. So I really wanted to work on taking back control of the things that I could. So by finding a skincare routine, hair care routine, and looking after my mental health. I did manage to find a skincare routine that worked for me, and I've managed to stick with it for just over a year now, and I've definitely noticed a difference in my skin, and I'm looking forward to continuing with that skincare routine. I'm still working on sort of a hair care routine where I've sort of been to the hairdressers and have had my hair coloured more. I then sort of need to adjust the hair care routine, so yeah, that's sort of a work in progress, but definitely getting there. My self-confidence definitely still needs a lot of work, and in last year's video I talked about how I got Katie Piper's book A Little Bit of Faith for Christmas, which is a book of affirmations, one for every day, and I talked about how I was going to use that as sort of a tool to help me with kind of my mental health and that self-confidence and self-belief. I didn't really end up getting on very well with that last year, sort of where I was working on other things in terms of like those big things that I did and then crashing afterwards and trying to build back up. Sort of doing the affirmations slipped through the cracks a bit, so that is something which I am restarting this year and going to try and make more of a priority. And that leads me on very nicely to the final part of this video, which is my goals for 2023. So the first one is to continue to work on my self-belief and my self-confidence and reading Katie Piper's book every day. So yeah, so just trying, or even just a couple of times a week, and just catching up on any that I've missed. So yes, I'm going to do that this year. We are currently on the 9th of January, and so far I have read the affirmation every day, so we're off to a good start. Also, for Christmas this year I got a bullet journal, which was one that I found on Etsy, which was actually like a pre-drawn, pre-designed bullet journal, which just makes it a lot easier to use and a lot less energy consuming. One of my goals for this year is to use my bullet journal every day or as much as possible, and yeah, try and keep up with that. And then my final goal is to continue working on my ME, and this year I really want to spend time focusing more on the sort of smaller goals rather than doing big things and then resting and recovering and then doing another big thing, which is bad management. So yes, so I just want to sort of scale things back this year and just work on those smaller goals to hopefully kind of make more of a sustainable improvement. And I really love, sort of as a specific goal, I'd really love to be able to increase my walking distance to sort of 15 or 20 metres, which I'm sure to a lot of people seems a very, very small distance. But as I said, currently I can walk around 5 metres. Yeah, so actually 15 or 20 metres would be a massive improvement on that. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any goals for 2023, if you'd like to do that. Actually, another thing is that I'd love to upload on YouTube more. Last year my YouTube and social media stuff sort of suffered as a result of, mainly just as a result of going to the Strictly Come Dancing live tour. So yes, I'd really love to be able to upload more this year, so please also let me know in the comments if you have any videos that you would like to see me make this year, and I will try and do those. But yes, if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and also please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really mean a lot to me, and I will see you all again hopefully soon with another video. Bye!